The unique 2.7-mile island circuit in the St. Lawrence Seaway at Montreal has been described as a street circuit without the houses, and it's very demanding. And for the first time in 8 races, Ayrton Senna, with 56 pole positions behind him, is not #1 on the grid. On Friday morning, his Honda V12 engine destroyed itself and drenched the track with oil, leaving the world champion the unusual experience of supervising the return of a broken McLaren to his garage. Then Riccardo Patrese hit the oil patch at colossal speed and was very lucky indeed not to be badly injured. And in the afternoon's wet qualifying period, it was Nigel Mansell who took the provisional pole position, with a brave and determined Patrese 8th quickest despite feeling very sore. Saturday was hot, dry and ideal for the qualifying session that Senna was expected to dominate. But this time it was Williams up front. Mansell's been brilliant but unlucky this year, but on Saturday things went well. Second fastest despite having to use the spare car. And to emphasise the fact that the Williams Renault is a potential winner, it was Patrese who superbly took his 4th pole position. Riccardo likes the Gilles Villeneuve circuit, but with reservations.
This is an hard race for everybody, car, drivers, and the track in effect, also if there is a new asphalt, it is as bumpy of last year, and because of that we don't have an easy life.
So this time Ayrton Senna starts 3rd, but with 4 wins from 4 races, no one is underestimating his ability to win again in Canada. The first all-Williams front row since Hungary last year, ahead of Senna with Prost top man for Ferrari under new management. Roberto Moreno an excellent 5th and Berger a disappointed 6th. Alesi's Ferrari 7th next to Piquet's Benetton. Andrea de Cesaris a delighted 11th in his Jordan Ford with teammate Bertrand Gachot 14th. Martin Brundle starts 20th, but neither his teammate Mark Blundell nor Grand Prix returnee Johnny Herbert have qualified. So, is this going to be a Williams race? Front row of the grid, Patrese on the right, Mansell on the left. Watch for the lights. Behind Riccardo Patrese, Ayrton Senna. Behind Mansell is Alain Prost. It's a long race, 69 laps of this circuit, and they are holding them a long time on the lights. Danger of the clutches burning out. Watch for the lights, the red, and then 7 seconds or less, the green. Patrese goes forward. And it's a superb start by the Williams team. Patrese and Mansell absolutely together into the first left-hander and then the right. So it's Nigel Mansell leading his teammate Riccardo Patrese with a very sore neck behind him in 2nd place. In 3rd position it's Senna, 4th is Alain Prost, 5th is Berger, 6th is Nelson Piquet. Everybody's got away well and the Williams are on their way. Already there's a bit of a gap between Riccardo Patrese in 2nd place and Ayrton Senna 3rd. Then the Ferrari, Prost, Berger, Piquet, Alesi, Moreno is in 8th position. And they streak away now past the Concord Bridge, past the Metro Cosmos Bridge, coming down towards the hairpin, which is the end of the first lap. 2.75 miles in this Canadian Grand Prix. Mansell leading.
Yes, and a tremendous performance in qualifying by the Williams team, not unexpected. We've been waiting for them to come good. Alesi charging down the inside there, making up, passing one of the Benettons. And really, it will be very interesting, this race, from a gearbox point of view, as to whether the Williams gearboxes can hold together. Patrese said yesterday that they reckon they've got their gearbox problem sorted out, hadn't had any for a couple of races now, and they were confident. But this circuit is hard, and McLaren, conversely, they've been lucky. They've had gearbox trouble several times this year, but they've finished the races.
So Mansell leads by quite a gap now from Patrese. There he is, Ayrton Senna in 3rd position. And then behind the Brazilian, the 2 Ferraris, Alain Prost and his teammate Jean Alesi. In 6th position, it's Gerhard Berger in the 2nd McLaren. In 7th place, it's Moreno in the Benetton. And behind him, his teammate Nelson Piquet, the man who won in Japan and Australia last year. There are the Ferraris.
And Moreno got past Berger there, and it makes me suspicious that Berger may be in some sort of trouble right from the start, because people are going past him pretty easily, and he appears to be braking early.
Yeah, Gerhard Berger's only finished in 2 of the 4 races this year. Admittedly, in 2nd and 3rd places is San Marino and Brazil, but he's had a couple of failures to finish. And you're right, James, he's dropping back. You can see as you look back down the grid that Gerhard Berger is sliding back. He's behind Roberto Moreno now. So there is Prost, Alesi, Piquet and Moreno, and then Gerhard Berger.
And consistent with this morning's warm-up times, or certainly Mansell's, Patrese had a bit of trouble and was also resting his sore neck. But the Williamses are going away from Senna.
And what a magnificent impression as Nelson Piquet is coming up to take Roberto Moreno, his teammate. So Nelson Piquet, 3 times world champion, moves up a place in the Benetton, moves up into 6th position.
Yes, and happily Piquet showing a bit of a charge. No, Senna dropping back. Mansell pulling away from Riccardo Patrese. Remember, Patrese is driving with a very sore neck, and I'm sure he'll be trying to pace himself in this race.
Well, this is certainly something different from Canada. We've got so used, as you look at Gerhard Berger there, to his teammate Ayrton Senna dominating things, having won the 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th races. Phoenix, Brazil, San Marino, Monaco, a maximum of 40 points, looking unbeatable, but he's certainly not looking unbeatable here in Canada, unless, of course, master tactician that he is, Ayrton Senna is playing a bit of a waiting game, testing the Williams, knowing that this circuit is going to put a tremendous amount of strain on the car, knowing, of course, that Riccardo Patrese in 2nd position behind race leader Nigel Mansell must be suffering a lot from his sore neck and his chest muscles, which were bothering him after practice. And here's a replay. Somebody in the dust. It's Suzuki, the Japanese driver, Aguri Suzuki in the Lola, going off. And there you see Gerhard Berger, and the race order now as you ride with Alain Prost, and that is Suzuki. And my goodness, that's a big one. That's not just a gearbox fire, and the Japanese driver rushing away from the Lola, and there's 45 gallons of fuel on board that car at this stage of the race, and Suzuki gets going with the fire extinguisher.
Yes, maybe when he went over a curve to make that dust, maybe he just ripped a fuel line off or something like that. But that's a nasty, it's a big fire, and that clearly is the fuel tank under attack.
Well, now, let's hope they don't stop the race, because there was fire extinguisher powder and smoke going right across the circuit as they come out of the corner. It would be tragic from the point of view of Williams and Mansell and Patrese, of course, 1st and 2nd places, if they did so, as they're ahead of Senna.
Yes, and this is a new sight this year. Senna not leading, and what's more, with 2 Ferraris breathing down his neck and pressing him. So Senna struggling for pace.
On lap 4, and now Nigel Mansell is some 4 seconds ahead of Riccardo Patrese, who is a couple of seconds ahead of Senna, who is being harried by Alain Prost, and he's got Jean Alesi in 5th position right behind him. This is great stuff. 2 Williams leading, and then the McLaren, and that's Gerhard Berger in the pits. Berger is having a most dreadful 1991.
Yes, I get the impression at the moment that Patrese is happy to let Mansell go, probably wants to pace himself, and he seems to be keeping himself just a couple of seconds in front of Senna, just to keep it comfortable, but without pushing himself. And I'm sure in the physical condition that he finds himself, that's a very sensible tactic.
What a joy already as you ride with Alain Prost. Now watch the comparative performance of Ayrton Senna's McLaren Honda in front of the V12 Ferrari. And they're absolutely equal, because Prost is in the wheel tracks of Senna's car. He's getting a lot of turbulence, of course, being as close as he is to the McLaren in front of him. Jean Alesi in 5th position, and Berger has rejoined the race. They put the body cover back on the car, and so now we are on lap 8 and in the lead. Nigel Mansell, who's increased his lead over Riccardo Patrese to more than 4 seconds. Patrese 2.5 seconds ahead of this battle. Senna third, Prost fourth, Alesi fifth, and in 6th position it is Nelson Piquet ahead of 7th place Roberto Moreno. In 8th position it's Andrea De Cesaris in the Jordan Ford, and his teammate Bertrand Gachot is in 10th place, and they are sandwiching Stefano Modena in the Tyrrell.
Yes, and while I get the feeling that Patrese is pacing himself to Senna and not bothering to chase Mansell, I get the feeling that Mansell has already eased up. He stretched out to 5 seconds very, very quickly, and now just seems to be content to stroke it along and stay a comfortable distance in front of his teammate.
And you saw Gerhard Berger being pushed back into the pits there. That's another retirement. 3 retirements, and that is Roberto Moreno. Moreno, who was in, what, 7th place, has spun. Is there any damage to the car? I can't see any, and he's trying to back out and get... But the problem is, of course, he's got cars bearing down on him at terrific speed all the time. He's got to pick his moment, which he has done. And from a quick look at the Benetton Ford, and incidentally, Ford have confirmed that they are producing a V12 engine for introduction next year with the Benetton team. It looked to me as though Moreno's car was all right. And Senna is pulling away a little. There's Senna in 3rd place, behind him in 4th place. And so, where's Prost? Prost is missing, because that's Alesi in 4th position, that's Piquet behind him in 5th place, and Prost has gone down to 6th. I don't know what's happened, we didn't see it.
No, we didn't see it, but it looks like just a mistake. And that's Nakajima just pulling off the circuit. No, pulling back on again. So what became of Nakajima? But we didn't see what happened to Prost, but it looks like a mistake. Action replay, this is Nakajima, and the wall. There he goes, but being a true Japanese, he's going to think about it, have a look round, and then off he goes again.
And now we are on lap 11, and as you can see, Nigel Mansell still leading, increasing his lead to 5.3 seconds over Patrese, who is now 4 seconds ahead of Senna, who has got Alesi and Nelson Piquet. There they are, 4th and 5th behind him. And Alain Prost in the 2nd Ferrari is 6th, as into the pits comes Satoru Nakajima, unsurprisingly, having rumpled the right side of his car all alongside the concrete wall, probably given himself at least 1 puncture, probably hasn't done the suspension any good either, but the Tyrrell mechanics slap on a new set of wheels and tyres, and have a quick look round, and is Naka going to rejoin? Yes, out he goes. And the circuit has been changed a bit just at this point, because what was a very fast right and left has now been made into a slower one, and it's still Alesi there with Piquet getting closer and closer to the Ferrari all the time.
Yes, and that's Roberto Moreno coming into the pits, but a very encouraging performance from the new Benetton. They seem to be getting it going well now. Piquet very fired up and pressing Alesi's Ferrari hard.
And it certainly is looking as though all that testing between Monaco and Canada here that the Williams team have done with Mansell and Patrese is paying off, because Mansell is absolutely flying round this circuit as you watch Nelson Piquet there in 5th position chasing Alesi, and Mansell keeping well ahead of Patrese. The 2 Williams looking steady and smooth, and here are the 2 Jordans, and Gachot spinning. And who's going to hit him? Incredibly, nobody hits him. Comas misses him, and on the left, JJ Leto misses him. That was a very, very lucky spin for Bertrand Gachot in the Jordan Ford. And I was saying earlier on that the camera angles that have been set up here in Canada show how tremendously fast these Grand Prix cars are going on this circuit, and you can see the heat haze bubbling off the circuit. It's very, very hot indeed. Race order, lap 14 now, with Nigel Mansell now over 5 seconds ahead of Riccardo Patrese, who is continuing to pull away from Ayrton Senna. This is quite incredible. The 2 Williams now are well ahead of Ayrton Senna, who is third, with Alesi there in fourth position. Nelson Piquet is fifth, Prost is sixth, Modena is in seventh place, and De Cesaris is still holding eighth.
Well, at last the Williams car is beginning to show its promise. It certainly looked the best car, or close to the best car, right from the start of the season. The chassis is good, the engine produces smooth power, so on hard work. So Gachot in the pits there, just checking over from his spin, probably having a new set of tyres in case he flat spotted them. And off he goes again. But the Williams team, and goodness me, that's a Minardi, left in a very strange place because the driver doesn't appear to be there, but very eccentric parking. That was Morbidelli who's parked it.
And we're riding with Ayrton Senna now, coming up to lap Maurizio Gugelmin in the Leighton House with the V10 Elmore engine. Even this early in the race, Senna is starting to lap people, and that means, of course, that Mansell and Patrese have both already lapped the Brazilian, who is being chased by Martin Brundle, who's about to be lapped by, in the background, Jean Alesi, with Piquet behind him, and Alain Prost closing up on Piquet. It's getting very close indeed for fourth, fifth and sixth positions. There's Alesi, his first year with Ferrari, and of course the Sicilian finished in second position at Phoenix. And here he is. Jean Alesi then, Piquet. And it wasn't, it's Pirro, I'm sorry, it was Pirro in the Dallara with the Judd V10 engine, and that's Martin Brundle going very slowly indeed. Suddenly Brundle in the Brabham, and his teammate Mark Blundell failed to qualify, and that's Mika Hakkinen. Mika Hakkinen, the Finnish driver in the Lotus, who has been a real find for 1991 for Peter Collins with the resurgent Lotus team.
Yes, it should be said here that Johnny Herbert was very unlucky not to qualify for this race, having his debut for the Lotus team this year, and because he was quicker than Hakkinen's getting out of the car, he stalled the engine, quite clearly can't get going again. And here's a replay to find out what happened to Hakkinen. Oh, a bit of ploughing there, or going across the ploughed furrows, and they're not really designed to do that, so he may well have damaged the suspension. But certainly Herbert was quicker than Hakkinen throughout the meeting, but his car broke down at the beginning of qualifying yesterday and he was unable to put in a time. Very unlucky.
And that's Andre De Cesaris in for a new set of Goodyears, and out of the pits he goes. We're back again with Alain Prost. Prost, of course, on lap 25 now, with Nigel Mansell leading Patrese by 6.3 seconds, and Patrese is now 10 seconds ahead of Ayrton Senna, and the Williams Renaults are really making the McLaren Honda look pretty slow. And look at this, because this is Piquet being caught and passed by Alesi, and right behind him is Prost. And where's Senna? Ayrton Senna is missing. Now there is the Benetton, there are the two Ferraris, and Ayrton Senna is in trouble.
Yes, it looked as if there was a mistake from Alesi, because Alesi seemed to slow in front of both of them, and they swept past. And gearbox fumbling here, and that's Senna's car. So Senna has slowed down. Maybe he tripped them up as he went to slow, but that certainly looked like a box full of neutrals. Senna seemed to be fumbling for gears there, and at last the Achilles heel that has been for McLaren, the Achilles heel of the gearbox. Here we see Senna in a replay, I think, and arm up. Now let's see if he got in the way of the group that was right behind him. And he did, yes, he clearly held Alesi up through the corner, probably didn't mean to, put his arm up, but that allowed Piquet and Prost to get past him, so that was unlucky for Alesi.
Well, it's happened. Ayrton Senna had trouble in Phoenix the first race, and in Brazil, and in San Marino, and in Monaco, but he had a charmed life, and in spite of the car problems he had, he won every one of those races. He's not going to win here in Canada, and he's not going to get any points at all. But Nigel Mansell is, look at this, lap 26, and Nigel Mansell is now 7 seconds ahead of Patrese, up into third place, 16 seconds behind the Italian, comes Nelson Piquet. Fourth is Alain Prost. Fifth is Alesi. That's after the reshuffle when Senna held them up. In sixth position, it's Modena in the Tyrrell. And in seventh place is Ivan Capelli in the Leighton House. And in eighth place is JJ Leto. And that's Prost. Prost is touring. My goodness, I said that this Canadian Grand Prix was tough on motor cars. It's very tough indeed. Suzuki out, Berger out, Alboreto out, Morbidelli out, Hakkinen out, Senna out, and now on the same lap, Alain Prost.
Yes, well as the heat and a lot of slow corners, which always put a big strain on the transmission here in Montreal, we also have a very bumpy surface, and that again puts, particularly with slow corners, puts a big strain on transmissions, because the rear wheels are trying to come off the ground and they're grabbing as they go light and then land again, and that puts a big torsional strain through the drive shafts and into the gearbox.
And Prost Ferrari, of course, like the Williams and his teammate Alesi's Ferrari, has got this new semi-automatic gearbox. Lap 29, 69 lap race, so we're getting towards half distance. Ivan Capelli, there he is. You just saw him going round the right-hander there in sixth position, and the Leighton House team with their Ilmor engines desperately need points. In the pits, the Ferrari of Jean Alesi. That's for tyres. He was going well. He was in third position, going well, and so Mansell still to come in for tyres if he is going to, and we don't know, of course. They all started on the softest Goodyear compound that there is, the D's, and they seem to be going well, the Williams. They're handling beautifully. All the work that Patrick Head, the designer, Adrian Newey, the aerodynamicist, and that's the second Lola out of the race. That's Eric Bernard, the Frenchman. It's a dreadful season for Gerard Larousse's team. Suzuki's car, I should think, has been burnt to a crisp, and now Eric Bernard is out. This is almost half distance. And Nigel Mansell has just done the fastest lap of the race. Not a lap record, it's a couple of seconds outside Gerhard Berger's lap record of 1 minute 22. Mansell's gone round in 1 minute 24. But the Englishman is very, very much in control of things. And if Nigel wins this race, and it certainly looks as though he's going to at half distance, it means to say that he will be the English driver with the most Grand Prix victories. He's tying with Sterling Moss at the present moment on 16. This would be his 17th. And that is Stefano Modena now in fifth position. The race order, Mansell leading by 14 seconds. Patrese is 32 seconds ahead of Nelson Piquet in third position. Fourth is Alesi. Fifth is Modena. Sixth position is Capelli. And in seventh place, Leto, the young Finnish driver who's having his first season in a real motor car which can be successful. That's the Dallara with the new Judd V10 engine. And you're looking at 3 times world champion Nelson Piquet, who has certainly come to the fore again since he started driving for Benetton. 2 victories last year, the last 2 races of the year in Japan and Australia. And this is a replay of, it's Bertrand Gachot taking Eric Comas, the Frenchman in the Ligier, moving up into 10th position. And that's Alesi. Prost is out, and it looks to me now as though Alesi is out. He's slowed right down, arm out. Past him goes Capelli and Leto. Past him goes Stefan Johansson in the footwork, deputising for Alex Caffey, who doesn't look as though he's going to be back in Grand Prix racing this year. And Alesi is definitely out.
Yes, that might have put a little oil on the circuit, just a little bit there, to test people and trip them up. But the sad saga of the Ferrari team in 1991 continues, and they've had a total management reshuffle recently, and but nothing seems to have changed on the racetrack, and a very disconsolate Alesi. He's going to sit on the wall, but I dare say they'll move him off there.
You can't sit there, Gav, I'm afraid. And Alesi will be moved off the wall, as he rightly should be, for safety reasons. And you're looking now at the battle for 5th position between Ivan Capelli in the Leighton House and behind him, JJ Leto, the young Finnish driver in the Dallara, who finished third at San Marino. It's only his second season of Grand Prix racing. He's only 25 years old. He's got a lot of Grand Prix racing still left in him. Past the Olympic rowing strip on the right, the lake on the left, the lake on the right, and into the pits comes Patrese. What? Lap. And it's a puncture, right rear puncture, look. Look, he's lap 41 in the 69-lap race, and Riccardo Patrese is going to lose his second position. That means to say that Nelson Piquet in the Benetton Ford V8 will go up into second place. Indeed, he's done so while I'm talking to you. But Nigel Mansell is racing victoriously on his way. The car handling beautifully, the Renault V10 engine sounding superb. Nigel is pacing himself. And that is Nelson Piquet now in second position. And Mansell's just gone round in 1 minute 23.21, which is the fastest lap of the race, and is just about 1.2 seconds outside Gerhard Berger's McLaren lap record. Patrese is back. You can see there's Riccardo Patrese. He's back in sixth position. He's ahead of Emanuele Pirro in the other Dallara, and he's lapped it.
Yes, bearing in mind that the lap record's a bit of an academic here because the circuit has changed, as we see is that Capelli. Capelli has stopped, so that's resolved his battle with JJ Leto. But it's been resurfaced, they've tightened up the chicane before the pits, so really there's no way to accurately compare.
And my heart goes out to the Leighton House team and to Capelli. They've been so near to points this year, and it looks as though they're not going to get any here in Canada. But nothing seems to be deterring Nigel Mansell. He has worked so hard for this. I remember the sensation when he announced that he was retiring from Grand Prix racing after the British Grand Prix last year, and then the other sensation when he said he wasn't retiring after all, he was going to be driving for Williams. And everybody in Britain certainly gave a loud huzzah at that. And it's coming good because Nigel now on lap 45 out of 69 leads, and Patrese is on a charge too. Patrese is absolutely scything his way through the field on new tyres, of course, notwithstanding his sore neck, notwithstanding his sore chest, and he is up into fourth position. He rejoined the race in sixth place, and now on lap 46, Mansell leads Piquet by 58 seconds. In third position, it's Stefano Montadori. It was, because there he is in the pits for a new set of Pirellis, and there's a bit of a delay. This is a very slow, something like 13 or 14 seconds, and Stefano Modena rejoins. And meantime, Andrea De Cesaris in the Jordan Ford is carving his way through the field. He's just passed Pierluigi Martini, and De Cesaris is in the points. This is the first time this season that a Jordan Ford has actually been in the points, and they desperately need a point to avoid pre-qualifying.
And certainly De Cesaris is having his best season ever in terms of the way he's driving, and for that a lot of credit must go to Eddie Jordan. Eddie Jordan understands drives. We watched the replay as Gachot now passing Pierluigi Martini and into seventh place. The Jordan team really doing fantastically well for a new team, and Eddie Jordan certainly has got the best out of De Cesaris as a driver. He understands drivers, and he's taken the trouble to talk to him and work with him, and it really has shown up on the track. And De Cesaris is a happier man than ever before.
And I bet Nigel, JJ Leto out of the race, and he was so nearly up into the points. Well, I don't know what the problem is, but another sad race for JJ after finishing third. Well, here he is. He's just going straight off the circuit. That's the corner where last year Alessandro Nannini went off, and shortly afterwards Alesi in the Tyrrell slammed into the Benetton and destroyed both the cars. So now lap 51, and Mansell leads. Piquet is second. Those are the only two on the same lap, on lap 51 out of 69. In third position, it is Riccardo Patrese carving his way up through the field because he has passed Stefano Modena, who is fourth, and fifth and sixth now are the two Jordans. Well, they've gone from a drought to a lot of points, because at the present moment they are on a potential 3 points in the World Championship, with Andrea De Cesaris in fifth place, Bertrand Gachot in sixth position, and it's the first time Gachot's been in the points in his Grand Prix career. And I was talking about pre-qualifying, that dreaded hour between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock on Friday, when 8 competitors have to compete for 4 places to go forward for the official practice. Everybody loathes it, and Eddie Jordan's team loathe it as much as everyone else. And if they stay where they are now, De Cesaris and Gachot will avoid that happening after the British Grand Prix for Eddie Jordan's new Irish team. Beautiful car designed by Gary Anderson, the Ford HB engine, and this is the first race where the Jordan team have had the increased specification of Ford engine that the Benetton team used at the beginning of the year. And it's getting pretty thin on the ground now, I can tell you, because Suzuki's out, Berger, Alboreto, Morbidelli, Hakkinen, Senna, Prost, Bernard, Alesi, Capelli, JJ Leto. This Canadian Grand Prix circuit, with its demands on braking and on the gearbox, not to mention fuel consumption, of course. And now this is Mansell and Patrese together.
Yes, and Patrese on fresh tyres and working hard to chase Piquet has caught Mansell. He's a lap behind, and Mansell lets him through. So Mansell obviously is in no hurry. He has something like a 50-second lead, and he can pace himself to Piquet, whereas Patrese from a lap behind stands a chance of catching.
Yes, great news for Mansell, great news for Williams, great news for Britain, because Nigel Mansell is indeed 51 seconds ahead of Nelson Piquet. And I think all Mansell's got to worry about now, as Stefan Johansson in his first drive for the Footwork Porsche team, he says the chassis is great, but the engine, compared with the McLaren engine, which he's been testing in Japan, hasn't got the power that's needed. But as I was saying, Mansell has really just got to keep his concentration up now, as you watch Stefano Modena, number 4, who is in 4th position, albeit a lap behind Mansell, who is leading Piquet by 51 seconds, with Riccardo Patrese in 3rd place, Modena that you're looking at in 4th position, and the two Jordan Fords of De Cesaris and Gachot are still 5th and 6th, ahead of Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi Ferrari, who is 7th. And I suppose the story of this race now is not just that the Williams are 1st and 2nd, not just that Nigel Mansell is in the lead for the first time this year and looking very much like staying there, but that not one McLaren, both McLarens are out of the race. There's Mansell. Senna said before this race began, the World Championship is not over. We're going to have a very hard time, and it looks as though he was absolutely right.
Yes, and the strange thing is that Mansell appears to have speeded up and to have gone with Patrese as Patrese went past him, and I think that might be a little bit of tactical error, because the only reasons I can think of for doing that are a little touch of ego, because Patrese has been quicker than him in the first 4 races, or largely this season, which must rankle, and alternatively, just the fact that sitting out there such a big lead, he's bored and he wants to have a bit of fun, because it is more fun to follow somebody. But one worries that that's putting an unnecessary strain on the mechanical components of the car. He's got a big lead, and really he should be nursing that lead. As we look at Ayrton Senna, who, unlike a lot of Grand Prix drivers, hasn't jumped straight in his plane and gone to wherever. He's stayed with it and he's watching the race, but then maybe he doesn't book early flights these days, with McLaren, expecting his McLaren to finish every time.
Yes, Riccardo Patrese is actually out-qualified. You're looking at Piquet now, who is in 2nd place, of course, 50 seconds behind Mansell. He really hasn't got a hope of catching the Englishman, but he's keeping going at racing pace. And Mansell has actually been out-qualified for a variety of reasons by Riccardo Patrese, his teammate, at every one of the 5 Grand Prix this year. And in a situation where Mansell is alleged to be paid £6 million a year and Patrese is alleged to be paid about 700,000, that's quite a differential. And Mansell will obviously be wanting to show that he is indeed the quicker man.
And Mansell's back in front. So Mansell has gone past Patrese, which means I would suggest that Patrese is in some sort of trouble. Could be his neck. He had a very nasty bang on Friday, and he certainly isn't fully fit, but he has definitely slowed down. So Patrese slowed down, Mansell is soldiering on. Mansell has just put up a new fastest lap for the race, so he certainly speeded up as Patrese went past him and he went with him. So really that wasn't totally professional of Mansell to be putting in fast laps when he really didn't need them late in the race.
1:22.385, which is just 0.3 of a second outside Gerhard Berger's lap record. But Mansell doesn't have to worry about the lap record. He is almost metaphorically within sight of the checkered flag now for his 17th Grand Prix victory here at Canada.
Yes, I fear the Patrese assault on his ego without qualifying every time made him go for that fastest lap, because Patrese previously had it. But all seems to be well, but those sort of things can bite you back in this business when... and Modena, yes, and Patrese certainly is in trouble because Modena is catching Patrese for his place, and that means Modena moves up into 3rd place.
Yes, race order now. It's academic because Nigel Mansell is almost home for his 17th Grand Prix win, but it's Mansell leading, Piquet in 2nd place, Modena up into 3rd position, Patrese down to 4th, De Cesaris is still 5th, and 6th is still Bertrand Gachot, as Nigel Mansell goes through now to start his last victorious 2.7-mile lap at Canada. And Mansell, of course, won here in 1986. He's waving to the crowd. He's going to win again.
Yes, well, he certainly waited patiently for this, Mansell. He's had a rotten start to the season, went beautifully in Brazil, only to be dogged by mechanical trouble, gearbox trouble with the Williams early on, but they seem to have it right now, and this would be a well-deserved win for both Mansell and the Williams team.
You can hear the crowd whooping in the background. Mansell is almost home now, past the Concorde Bridge, then the Metro Bridge, into the hairpin, and then he's just got the straight alongside the Olympic rowing strip with the lake on his right to go through and complete lap 69 to victory in Canada. And he's going to beat Nelson Piquet by some 50 seconds. He's taking the hairpin very... He's stopping! Nigel Mansell, just a few hundred yards from the flag on the last lap, is stopping. He's banging his steering wheel in frustration. Something has happened. It looks as though he's out of the race.
It looks like he might be out of fuel. But he seemed to be looking down as he came to the hairpin, which is, of course, where his controls of the gearbox are, and that's been the Achilles heel. But fuel, it could be. It's high on fuel, this consumption, the circuit.
Nelson Piquet is going to win in Canada. He won in Japan last year. He won in Australia last year. That was in the old Benetton. Here he is. Here is Nelson Piquet. Now, when he passes Nigel Mansell, and he's going to very shortly, it will be on his way to win an astounding last lap development at Montreal, and Nelson Piquet is going to make it 3 victories in a very short time, which means to say that Stefano Modena there comes up into 2nd place. Well, here's Piquet. He is almost home now. He's going to he passes Mansell's Williams. Piquet is nearly there. What bitter gall for Mansell as Nelson Piquet, the oldest man in the race. He's already 3 times world champion. He was 3rd in Phoenix, he was 5th in Brazil, and he is 1st in Canada. Nelson Piquet wins for Benetton, he wins for Ford, and he wins for Pirelli, and it's a long time since the Italian firm had a victory. And that is Riccardo Patrese coming home in 3rd place. Stefano Modena has finished in 2nd position. Riccardo Patrese finishes third, and a bitterly disappointed Nigel Mansell gets out of the car as Andrea De Cesaris comes through to finish in fifth position. Behind him is teammate Gasho, so Eddie Jordan will be overjoyed. He has now got the points he needs. Well, so victory for Nelson Piquet, Modena second, Riccardo Patrese third in Canada, then the two Jordans, and Nigel Mansell finishes sixth, 1 lap down. Oh dear, I feel so sorry for Mansell, but obviously you feel delighted for Nelson Piquet.
I got the news from the radio that Mansell is slowing down, and I just tried to push again the last lap, but when I saw him, I couldn't believe it. It was very, very good, very lucky.
You must feel a bit sorry for Nigel, though.
Well, I don't feel sorry for nobody. This thing happened with me already. I think it's motor racing. I think a win who finished in the checkered flag first.
Well, the Benetton Ford finished when many of the top teams didn't. No McLarens, no Ferraris. You must be very pleased with your car.
Well, I can say it was 2 Williams in front of us and 1 McLaren, because I passed both Ferrari and my car was very competitive until then. Well, my car was not very good to compete with the Williams, but I was 5 seconds from Senna all the way until he stopped. And the car is getting much better, and I think Williams Renault did a good improvement, and they are a little bit in front.
So the season is going to be much more open from now on?
Well, it depends of, I think depends on Williams. I think they have to catch up with in the points with McLaren.
Thank you very much. Riccardo, you stopped to pick up Nigel. Did you find out what had happened?
I didn't speak with him, but I suppose it was a gearbox trouble, and it's the same trouble that I had for the last 15 laps and very badly for the last 5 laps, that I couldn't get gear changing down. And I feel quite sorry for Nigel, and especially for the team, because I think today Williams was really superior to anybody, and unfortunately we couldn't catch the win.
And how did you feel with your neck after your accident?
Well, I was a bit painful, but I think that I was still competitive, and as you see, I finished the race, and now I have 2 weeks to recover, so it's no problem.
Well, that's a bit different, isn't it? Victory for Nelson Piquet, Modena second, Patrese third, then the two Jordans, De Cesaris and Gasho fourth and fifth, and Nigel Mansell a disconsolate 6th position. And that means to say that in the Drivers' World Championship, Ayrton Senna is now 24 points ahead of Piquet, who has moved up. Prost, who has moved down. Patrese and Berger tying for 4th, with Modena in 6th position and Nigel Mansell in 7th place. McLaren, of course, lead the Constructors' Championship by a terrific margin, but now it's from Benetton, with Williams moving up to 3rd, Ferrari moving down to 4th, Tyrrell in 5th position, and Jordan tying with Dallara. In 2 weeks' time, it's the Mexican Grand Prix. A chance, we hope, for Nigel Mansell to go to the end this time and win. Watch it on BBC Two.
A reminder that the Grand Prix